Yes, we are aware that Max won in Imola, yada, yada, yada. He's so good. But who cares about that? When we have Monaco this weekend, it's lights out and away we go for episode 143 of the Eating Asphalt podcast. All right, like I said, it was actually a relatively fun race, I would say, in Imola. But like I also said, we have a two for one. So we will be talking about Imola, but we will also talking about the Super Bowl of Formula One races, the Monaco Grand Prix.
Monaco is like the Super Bowl of Formula One races, but that happens in the preseason, where it's just like
Hmm.
it's not going to be like exciting, but it's going to be like we're happy it's happening, you
Yeah,
know?
and it means actually like the exact same out of all the regular season games.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like more predictable from the beginning a little bit.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So basically, the Super Bowl of Formula One.
Yeah, this is I'm very excited to talk about Imola because or Imola. Yeah, Emilia Romagna, Imola,
Yep.
Formula One, MSC Cruises,
Seems
maybe.
like they're trying to kick out the name Imola. Everything I'm seeing now is the Emilia Romagna,
Yeah.
which I don't like.
Like I'm sorry. Is
Keep it
Emilia
one word.
Romagna a company? Are they paying for a sponsorship there? Or Emilia Romagna is just like the like geographic location, right?
I think I always assumed that it was a lady that just had ends to the sport.
She's like, this one's my race. Just a
This is
mega
me.
wealthy. Yeah. All right, on today's podcast, we have our hot lap recap, winners and losers, country fun facts. Looking forward to Monaco, the Monaco Grand Preview brought to you by Marco, and then predictions and gambling, both the recap and the preview. So let's get right into it. A lot to get to. Meow. Gonna scooch you right over here. Excuse me. Just gonna give you a little scooch.
Little speech.
Little scoop. Make you a little bit bigger because you're a big boy.
Very big boy.
All right, looking back for our hot lap recap, we started with some weekend quali fun. Sergio Perez went back to his old self going out in Q2 for some good laughs. Nice little nostalgia there. Even though it was another Max pole, with Max complaining about performance for the most of it, the papaya looked good. Started to raise some questions about the gap between Red Bull and the rest. Both McLaren drivers put in a lap that was less than a tenth of a second off of Max on pole. Oscar had to serve a 3 grid race penalty for impeding in Q1. Lame. But yeah, excited to see Max get some pressure on him. The race started. Everybody was clean. Nobody got tangled up. And didn't see much movement until lap 9 when Alex went in for a pit stop and Williams caught the Sauber pit bug. Just didn't have his tire mounted properly, and then all of a sudden, Alex made two pit stops in 2 laps, lap 9 and lap 10. Saw a good number of overtakes on track and in the pit. The on track ones, some of them were like DRS zones. Like people were passing at pretty gutsy ways to pass. Sergio Perez, Lewis Hamilton, among the few that tried, and then got a nice little trip into the gravel going wide. But really, around like 15, 20 laps to go, all eyes went to the top three drivers, Verstappen, Norris, and Leclerc. Firstly, because Charles was the fastest car on track for a little while, chasing Lando within DRS range for a few laps. Looks like he was going to pass him, or looked like he was going to pass him and go on to P2, but then took a quick little detour right across the grass. So literally like seconds after his race came on and was like, this is really good. Just keep the pressure on. Right, like literally the next turn, he went over the grass, lost 2 seconds, and basically that shut the door for him getting higher than the lowest step on the podium. And then we went from the top three down to the top two. Lando, over the course of 20 laps, closed a 7.5 second gap down to within a second. Probably only needed like 2 or 3 laps. before he would have gotten it done and taken P1. But Max finished on the podium, top step. So we had Max, Lando, Charles in that order. I mean, yeah, I think like the podium would suggest it wasn't that fun of like a race overall, but there was some good action, and we were happy to see that. So that is it. Your hot lap recap, and now let's move on to our winners and losers of the Emilia Romagna Formula One MSC Cruises del Made in Italy, Made in Italy Grand Prix. All right, back at it with our winners and losers here. Let's start with our losers first. On a positive note, I think, like I mentioned, F1 fans are all winners when there's less than a 1 second gap between P1 and P2 at the end of a Grand Prix. Like that's what's going to keep asses in seats. The last time it happened was Singapore 2023. Lando was also in second for that race as well. So it's a good thing that Lando won last weekend because if he kept pulling off these like, oh, within 1 second of P1, like it would Lando can't win a GP conversation would be buzzing. But what a finish, big time winner of a finish to a Grand Prix.
Yeah, like those last what 5, 10 laps were awesome. I mean, he just kept chipping away at that gap. It got down to what 0.7 seconds or something like that, under a second with a couple laps to go. Um, Man, it was cool. Like you didn't see a ton of passing, I would say, the last like 15 laps or so in the entire race, but having that like kind of close the gap for it to go from Lando having to defend off Charles, it looked like Charles was maybe going to actually make a run at him, and then to do a complete 180 flip and him being the attacker when he was probably 4 seconds behind Max when he was defending Lewis to go up all the way to zero point 0.7 seconds. A whirlwind of the last quarter of a race for Lando.
Along those lines, I might have a winner as McLaren. The upgrades work. 30 points this weekend, most of any team in the paddock. Lando driver of the day. The boys look quick. Marco, not gonna lie, the boys look pretty
Yeah.
quick in quali. They look pretty quick on race pace. Yeah, good to see. We still have a pretty. I think I can't remember the gap. I think it's just like 50-ish points to Ferrari. Am I right on that? Scratch that. We're about 68 points away. So like 70 points, doable.
I did. You guys are making some. It was probably before 2 weeks ago. It would have been probably closer to 100. So you guys are chipping away quite nicely.
Yeah. Can't always expect Carlos Sainz to have bad qualifying and then not do too hot, but is what it is, and we move on. The other winner I have is Yuki Tsunoda. If Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren, Mercedes, and Aston Martin weren't on the grid, Yuki Tsunoda would be looked at the same way as Max Verstappen. This guy's on a roll, finishing first of the back five teams. He's just awesome. Big foodie, like wants to own his own restaurant. Said the best thing about Formula One was catering, and he was in Italy, so I bet he just chowed down after getting points in the last four races where he hasn't been DNF'd by somebody else. So AlphaTauri sitting at 20 points right now, 7 races into the season, and they finished with 25 points last year. So things are looking pretty good for those V carbs.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you're back on the Yuki just killing it on the outside of the top five team thing. So, I mean, you've been riding that pretty much all year, and it's probably given you of your, 5 point something units. I bet he's been about half of those winnings.
He for sure has.
Yeah.
That's all the winners I have. Any other fill in the blanks here?
Other winners, you said Luke, Yuki, McLaren. So the only other thing with McLaren I wanted to get like tip my cap off to was Lando. There was a couple times very like intensely in the race, and he comes over the radio and he just handles everything so chill. You rarely see so many drivers like Max, asshole, right? Leclerc will get super frustrated. That's because his race engineer was a doofus, and I think it's near impossible not to get frustrated with him. So maybe that changes with like the new guy coming in. But like every single time he's like polite. He's like saying like, thank you, like, please let me do my thing. But like, I'm trying my best. Yeah. But always very like entertaining, kind of like as if not everyone loved Lando enough. Like having him kind of do this, so like, hey, he's actually chill on the track as well. Was pretty cool.
Yeah. He's the most polite British person like stereotype where it's just like, I'm doing the best I can. Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Thank
Like,
you.
yeah,
Yeah.
calm, cool, and collected while, yeah, probably like it's racing through his mind that like I could pull off 2 wins potentially here. So, yeah, tip of the hat to Lando. Just polite, good mannered.
Yeah, very. The only other person you might have already said this, but was Max. Like, I think it would have been probably a scary thing for him to choke away that race towards the end because he
Yeah,
had a pretty comfortable lead, and I know they're like, oh, even with car issues, I don't know, kind of sandbagging. I feel like of like, oh, there's always something wrong. But for that to like give up a 4.5 second lead with only a handful of laps to go would have been probably kind of a scary thing for the Red Bull garage. So like, props to him for being able to hold that off.
yeah, and 8 poles in a row, right? So for the second time only in Formula One history. I think Ayrton Senna was the only other one to do that, but
Sheesh,
sheesh.
sheesh, holy cannoli.
All right, let's move on to some losers. My loser, the obvious blatant one, our boy, Checo Perez. P8 finish not going to be what the doctor ordered for the Red Bull garage. A lot of it was because he went out in Q2. Funniest part of him going out in Q2 was that it was Danny who was in P10 and bumped Sergio to P11. But yeah, P11 starting position not great. P8 finishing position really not great. Yeah, it's we're almost back into Checo shouldn't be driving in that car territory. I think like
Mm.
5 more before winter or before summer break, we'll be in that territory again, where it's just like, why does this guy have a job? You know?
Yeah, it's always interesting too to keep hearing these like second seat talks. Like they offered him an extra 1 year, he wants a 2 year, and then they'll hear being like, we don't even know if we want him. I don't know what's going on in that garage at all.
Yeah. Um, the only other loser I had, anybody who didn't tune into the post race show, we're gonna have Carrie. We're gonna have Carrie put in some audio of this guy. So the post race show, if you don't watch it, is basically everybody. Like they'll have some drivers come up and give interviews, like out of the media pen. They'll just recap the race, like in basically like just a couple of minutes after it happens. And the most Italian guy ever was hosting the show with Laura Winter. He was using his hands. He was saying he was basically like using a whole new set of vowels in the English language. And we'll put in that clip here. But man, do I love this guy! And like I need him back on that post race show.
Are you having him in that bad?
No, that's anybody who didn't anybody who didn't tune into the post race show.
Boom. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I don't
agree.
I don't
Yes.
discriminate against Italians.
Yeah, you better not. There's some real problems here. Was that all your winners and losers there?
That was all my losers.
Okay. The other two I had was obviously Fernando Alonso. Not an ideal Sunday for him. And then George Russell, like I still have no idea what that strategy was, where he was like just 6 seconds ahead of Lewis, and they're like, "All right, come in, change set of tires," and they're like, there's no chance in hell that he's going to be able to catch Lewis back up. Like they basically just boxed him just to have Lewis go in front. It absolutely made no sense.
Yeah, you could
Um,
tell on the radio he was just like, "What are we doing here? Like, why are we doing this?" And they were
yeah,
like, "Oh, it's the tires, life."
it's like if that's the case, you wait until Lewis does pass you, and then you're like, okay, yeah, maybe we come in. But he was still 20 seconds in front of Checo. He could have walked backwards into the like there. It made absolutely no sense. It was just almost them being like, tip of the cap to Lewis. We're going to give him a couple extra points over you. All right. Well, that does it for our winners and losers. Let's go to our country fun facts, our two truths and a lie. But before we get to that, this part of the podcast is brought to you by the Boobs Boat and Booze Boys. It's actually illegal to show up in Monaco without two of these things. So boobs, boats, or booze. Luckily, if you use our services, we provide all three of these. You like boobs? We got dozens of pairs. Actually, one solo boob, too, for an extra price. You need a boat. We have everything from a super yacht you'd see Tom Brady in to a fishing boat that no one would want to be caught dead in. Booze? You got a booze problem? You addicted to booze? Well, perfect, because we have plenty of it and we will get that relapse up and going in no time. And finally, us. Since we are in the name of the company and it does start with a B, we legally have to join you guys on this boat with these boobs and these booze. Sorry, it's out of our hands, but we will have to be there with you guys in solidarity. We're pretty cool. We're a good time. Get this now. Monaco's coming up. Like I said, it's illegal to actually show up without two of these three things. And one of them is actually mandated if you work with us. So might as well go with us. Might as well get your money's worth, have a great time, and enjoy Monaco. So reach out to the Boobs, Boats, Booze Boys and lock your position in today.
Thank you, BBBBB.
Big old BBBB. All right, moving on to our two truths and a lie presented by the Boobs, Boats, Booze, and Butts guys.
Oh, we got butts.
Oh, yeah, I forgot Butts. We can throw that in. I'll change the legal name of this company. All right, two truths and a lie. Ian, would you care to try and trick me again?
Yeah, I got you last weekend, so let's see if I can get you this weekend. Three, I don't have any theme. I go with like a theme, like I went Roman
Yep.
Empire last time. I don't have a theme. It's just Monaco's the theme because it's too
Yep.
small for me to like really engage
Yeah.
in.
Really can't find a niche in a niche
No,
city state.
it's town basically that they call
Yeah.
country. All right, number one that I have to try to trick you. In Monegasque weddings, it is custom for a groom to carry a sword during the wedding ceremony to symbolize protection and honor, similar to what you and I did.
Mhm.
Monaco's fire brigade is responsible for fire-related emergencies, as well as medical emergencies and civil engineering projects. And number three, Monegasque Waste Management Council was chastised by the UN in 2004 for sneakily engaging in transboundary waste disposal, where waste management trucks would be loaded up with waste garbage and dumped within 10 miles of the French border.
That's definitely true because there's nowhere else to put it. That has to be in. I'm gonna go with the wedding sword.
Wrong.
Fuck. Second one.
Wrong again.
Dude, I'm just suck it right now.
I wrote this. I'm just like, yeah, like what do they do with their trash?
Yeah,
What do they do with their trash?
they might do this. They just do illegally.
They
They have
just
like a handshake agreement being like, you got to take this trash.
I just found them out just by taking a shot in the dark.
Oh yeah, France was like, dude, you know what? We didn't even think about this. What is
What
going
the
on?
hell? Wait a minute.
This doesn't add up. All right, dude. Great to Tristan Law. Yes. Stunk me again. I stink. My turn. All right. Monaco is home to 12,261 millionaires in less than 1 square mile, and almost 1 in 3 people are millionaires. But with that being said, Monaco does have a poverty rate of 3%. Number two, Monaco holds the record for the fewest drivers to complete a race in the modern Formula One era, with just 4 cars taking the checkered flag in 1996. And the last one, it is believed that in the 13th century, Prince Rainier I, the ruling king of the royal family at that time, kidnapped and R-worded a lady, sexually assaulted. In order to take revenge, the victim transformed into a witch and cursed the royal family so that no member would ever find true love. Strangely, since several tragedies and scandals struck the Grimaldi family over the years, and it has appeared as if the curse may have come true.
If it's the third one, I gotta tip my hat to you, but I don't think it is. I'm gonna go with the first one because I don't believe that the poverty rate is 3% in Monaco.
That's right. Yep. That's 0%. Yeah.
Nailed it.
Nice.
Nailed it. Is 1 in every 3 person a millionaire in Monaco? I bet.
That's what it says. Yeah.
Gee.
That's cool.
Booze boats, boobs and butts boys are gonna show up there looking like a bunch of white trash.
Well, so yeah, I mean, statistically, whoever we're with is the millionaire.
Yeah,
You
if we
know?
get one customer,
Yeah,
million.
you're like, you got to be the guy because we're not.
All right, well, let's keep on the Monaco train and get into our Grand Preview. Marco, take it away.
All right, talking about the Circuit de Monaco 2024. First Grand Prix was 1950. There is 78 laps, and there is 19 turns with one DRS zone and one speed trap going into a little chicane. F1 has been racing there almost 60 years. Since 1929, it was part of the first year of the Formula One World Championship, and hasn't been on off since 1955. It's one of the races along with the Indy 500 as well as the 24-hour of Le Mans to form the Triple Crown of Motorsport. It is actually the shortest track on the grid, and well under the 355-kilometer race distance total. It actually only goes to 260, making it the only exception on the grid. The race is held on a narrow course laid out in the streets of Monaco with very many elevation changes, tight corners, as well as a tunnel. So it's just a very demanding track. We say this every year. Nelson Piquet memorably described this driving around Monaco as riding a bicycle around your living room. In spite of the relatively low average speed, the circuit is really dangerous due to how narrow the track is, and how many tight corners and tight turns. So I think it most most of the time has a safety car intervention. I was looking at the percentages this weekend. I think they're estimated about a safety car happening. It was about 57% chance. So just atypical, I would say. It's just there's always something that happens. Two drivers, like we said, dangerous. Two drivers have ended up in the Mediterranean Sea as well. So if that could be a third this weekend, that would be sick. Like we said, passing is going to be like a rare sighting on this track, high risk, high reward to be able to do so. For instance, in 2003, there were 0 overtakes in the entire race. So as long as, I would love to see someone in the Mediterranean. I would like to not see what happened in 2003, where everyone started the exact same place as they finished. I think some of the most interesting aspects of Monaco obviously isn't the racing the way I'm describing it. It's like, hey, there's not going to be a ton of passing. It's not going to go very fast. What's the point? It's like we said, it's kind of like the Super Bowl. Everyone comes out. This is like every driver's dream to like when they think of driving, it's driving in Monaco and the Monaco Grand Prix. The other aspects of itself is just watching the onboard of the drivers. Quick, heavy pulls from left to right, like constantly moving, is like, and seeing these tight margins. So they'll show like the car, it'll be like, sometimes just bumping, scraping the wall inches, centimeters away along the banks of the track to show how difficult this track is and how precise and perfect they need to be in order to do well as not crash into a wall. Max has done pretty well here over the past couple of years. Charles has done well on Saturday. Speaking of Saturday, because passing is not a typical thing, Saturday, it makes qualifying the most important track for qualifying. Is kind of like, hey, wherever you end up, you can't mess up. Like there's chances that you can kind of pass a couple cars, but for the most part, if you struggle, if you pull Checo, it's not like, hey, my super strong car is going to be able to make up for lost time on Saturday. Not a lot of runoff areas as well. So for guys that, make mistakes, can't really make it here. The track seems to mimic the country it's in. So it's the second smallest city. It's less than a square mile and just a packed in course. So overall, it's just a very exciting kind of the aura of it is great. All the drivers are really excited. You'll see a slew of famous people coming through. And then the weather itself, Friday 68 and Saturday 68, partially cloudy. Sunday 70, partially cloudy. We do get a lot of rain here typically. It does not look like we're going to be getting rain in Monaco in 2024.
All right, let's get into our predictions and gambling, both the recap and the preview, 2 for 1. All right, going into the weekend, Marco was 9-9 for gambling, up 11.8 or 11.2 units. I was at 9-10, up 3.9 units. And Marco, you want to go first?
Yep, lost them both. Sargent to finish last and under 17.5 cars classified, both missed. I thought Sargent was going to pull that off towards the end when Albon retired, and then it looked like Alonso was going to retire. Thought I had a chance, but no.
Nope. I hit on McLaren double points finish on minus 225. Logan Sargent last in qualifying. That was a layup there. Yuki in the points, also another layup. So yeah, up 5.3 units on the season. Marco up 9.2 units. Killers. Let's get into what do you got this weekend for gambling?
What I have this weekend for gambling is gonna be, will all Mercedes, Red Bull, McLaren, and Ferrari, so the top four teams, finish in the top 10 plus 200? I'm doing a unit and a half on that one.
I like that one a lot.
And then it just seems this is the lowest we've seen in a while for a max race winner, minus 135. Unit and a half on that.
I put Max Verstappen fastest qualifier at plus 160
Hmm.
that I feel less good about. Aston Martin double points finish at plus 125, and then George Russell finish in the top six plus 120. So we're going all positives this week after all negatives last week.
What happened? You're not gonna do your Yuki bet
I'm gonna get off the train at the station before it crashes.
before it crashes? Yeah, that's a smart move. Very rare that I can do that.
And then there's our gambling. Let's get into our predictions, just so rapid fire here. I think I went last time, so you go this time.
All right, going into the weekend, we're tied 3 for 3. Not our best, but it's gonna change. We're fine. I'm gonna go with Pierre Gasly, crash or DNF. Driver of the day, I'm gonna go with Oscar Piastri. Douche of the day, I'm gonna go with Fernando Alonso. Wildcard prediction, double McLaren podium.
I'll accept it.
Okay.
Unless it happens, I'm gonna give you a lot of shit
That's
about
fair. Oh yeah, 100%. That's I would be shocked if you did. Fastest lap, I'm gonna go with what's his name? Lando. And then how many cars don't finish? I'm gonna go with 4.
it. 4. Okay. Valtteri Bottas will not finish this race. Driver of the day, give me Sergio Perez. Douche of the day, give me Lando Norris. Wildcard prediction, not both Williams in the points, but Williams to get 2 points from the weekend.
Sure.
I guess that just one way or another, Williams has to get.
Yeah. It has to be, can't be P10 and solo P10. That's it.
Yeah, okay. Fastest lap, give me Lewis Hamilton, and then 2 cars not to finish. That's gonna do it for our Monaco Grand Prix. We have a very exciting live person-in-person podcast coming up. I don't know how we're gonna do it. We've never done like
Video.
in-person, video. What do we do?
Yeah.
Sit next to each other,
Yeah, just bumper to bumper right there.
have some nice like echo back and forth.
Yeah, hopefully there's not a delay. Uh,
All right. Well, appreciate everybody for listening. We will see you on the other side of the Monaco Grand Prix.
See ya, assholes.
See you, assholes.
Hey, thought you could leave without saying goodbye.
I used to say I lived my life a quarter mile at a time. And I think that's why we were brothers. Because you did too.